Alright, it's Dave Maitland from Sound Lab here. I teach music production and music technology for Sound Lab, and I make videos like this for them too. And Sound Lab are an amazing charity based in Glasgow but deliver all different parts of Scotland music lessons for anyone who wants them for free. They're brilliant and I love working for them. Now this is part 3 in my music production course using Ableton Live to make your own music, and in this part of it we're going to cover bass. How low can you go? That's what we're doing today. So the first thing you might be thinking was, well Dave, okay, I've seen Ableton a bit, I've done some beats, but bass, what is that really? Well, you all know, I'm sure, that most people's favourite part in songs when the bass line kicks in, sometimes bass guitar and a keyboard, it's the really low, deep part, and it adds a little rhythm on top of the beats and the drums. So it's kind of rhythmic, but it's also melodic too, so it can be catchy. So drums hit out beats, but they're not really a tune, it's more of a beat, whereas the bass line, it's very rhythmic, but also has some melody to it as well. So it's one of people's favourite part of the song a lot of the time. Got a bit of a tune, a bit of movement, and you might be thinking, well Dave, where does bass begin? Now if you rewind the clock hundreds of years back to classical music, the bass would have been played by a stringed instrument, quite often a double bass instrument, which is a tall thing like that, sometimes bowed, sometimes plucked. You'll see it in jazz music a lot, like do, 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 but it was also used in classical music. Or sometimes you got the bass notes on a piano down the left hand side of the piano, or in an organ, like you might hear that as well, kind of organ kind of music. If you've ever been in a church, you can get quite bassy there, and that's how bass sort of began in music, with the classical stuff anyway, in the last few hundred years. It might have existed before that in kind of bass drums, but we're talking about bass with a tune to it. So next up, you've got the bass guitar is invented. So alongside the electric guitar, bass guitar is invented round about the same time as well. It gives the players a bit lower notes to get to, and you can amplify that easier than a double bass. So put it through an amplifier, turn it on, you got some really loud bass. Rock and roll music wouldn't be the same without the bass guitar. So that's a great invention. And then the next step I'm going to jump to is, you might have guessed it, you know I love these, the synthesizers. Now synthesizers, because they use electronics, could make the bass bassier than ever before as well. So you can use hardware ones like these guys, keyboard ones like that one there, or you can use the ones in Ableton Live in your computer. And remember, you can get your Ableton Live free trial at the moment, so it's a great time to try it out. So we're going to jump into Ableton Live, and I'm going to show you some tricks in adding bass to the beats that you made already. Can't wait to do it. Let's get involved. So that's us opened up Ableton, nice one. And we've got the beat we made from last time. Maybe you've made a few by now, choose your favourite. This is the one I made last time, let's have a listen. Pretty happy with that. Now, of course, we want to add the bass. So where do we find the bass? So what we do is go to the left-hand side, your browser menu's here. If you can't see it, remember that arrow, click it, makes it go away, come back, go away, come back. Now, we want to play the bass on the built-in synthesizers in Ableton, and there's a few of them. You've got analog, you've got operator, and some more. So what I'm going to do is click the instruments, because that's where they live. Now in here you've got all kinds of instruments, the wavetable, tension. Later on we'll go into them, but now I just want to show you analog first. It's based on a classic kind of synthesizer that you get in real life. It's called a Subtractive Synthesis model, and it's actually the easiest one to learn, so we'll start with that. Now, to see what we've got, if you click the little arrow, it'll open up all the presets. Now, we love a good preset. That means you don't have to build the sound from scratch out of nothing. Some great sound designer at Ableton has done it for you already. You can go through, choose your favorite ones, and then later on you can tweak them a little bit if you want to as well. And that's not cheating, don't worry, you can definitely do that. So let's find the bass, because we've got voice, synth rhythmic, blah, 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 strings, pad, blah, blah. We'll talk about pads in an episode coming up soon. But we want bass, so we're down not brass, bass. Click the arrow, opens it up, and we've got all sorts of basses here. Now, if your blue headphone thing is switched on there, it should be blue to be on. If it's grey, click it, make it on. We can preview these by clicking on them. And also by using the up and down arrow to scroll through them. That's quite woofer, wobble bass, square free, pure bass, pure bass. I'm liking that one. I'm gonna scroll through a few. Alright, so I've scrolled through a few and I think my favourite is actually the pure bass, square free pure bass. So I want that in my project. How do I get it? Well, the easy way is to drag it into this blank section here. It says drop files and devices. Well, it's a device, also known as an instrument. Its exact name is analog, remember? But we can drag it into that blank space here, let go, boom, it pops up. That column there, we can see that. That's the column for your synth bass now. Nice one. You can see the device down here, which looks crazy complicated. Don't worry about that just now. What we want to do is start making sounds with it. Now to do that, like the drums, you want to make a clip and draw in some notes. So I'm going to double click this blank space here, and it could be any of these spaces. Gets us a new clip. Now as you can see, it's got the grid like the drums, but up and down the side, it's like a piano. It doesn't say hi-hat, tom, kick drum. It's actually more like a piano. And if you click your mouse and drag down it, you can preview the sounds. And as you can see, if I'm clicking down the bottom, C0 to C1, they're bassier, aren't they? Up here, too high, don't want that right now. So I'm going to use my magnifying glass, drag it to about there, up, and then also click the magnifying glass, drag sideways, and it'll fatten out this section here that I want as well. So remember, you can click, drag sideways to magnify, like that, and then click and drag up and down to move it. And we want to be in the region about C1, click that. That's bassy enough for me. So let's start drawing in some notes. Now you might think, oh Dave, I don't know music theory though. I don't know how to play piano. How can I do this? Well, don't worry. Loads of famous electronic songs and hip hop and other ones actually just use 3 notes, sometimes 2. And they're based around a chord called C minor. And it's made up of 3 notes on the piano. You've got C, D sharp, and G. 3 notes, that's it. So I'm just going to start by drawing in some notes in random places and see how it sounds, but making sure it's C, D sharp, and G. And what I want to do is make sure I'm in pen mode, which I am, but if you're not, remember, press B on your keyboard, switches it between mouse and draw mode. That's good to know. So I'm just going to add in some C. Oh yeah, if you do one by mistake, like that, oh no, just click it again, it goes away. So C, maybe put in a G. I might want it lower down, so I'm going to click and drag to the lower G, G0. Oh yeah, the number corresponds how low or high it is. So 0 is bassy, 1 is bassy, 2, 3, 4 getting more high up. We don't want that today. So C, C, G, maybe more C. Keeping it kind of simple to start with. C, C, maybe G again, and maybe high G up here. Maybe to finish, just, well, we did mention we're going to use D sharp somewhere, so maybe stick that in there. And click play, see how it sounds. Have to admit, sounds not super cool, but a little bit like you're getting chased by a Koopa in Mario Kart or something like that. If I speed it up, and remember, how do we speed up? Go up to tempo here, click it, type in the new tempo. I'll go 120. Listen to this. 120, hit play. Oh yeah, it's the Mario Kart vibe. Whoa. So that's all right. And to keep track of things, I'm going to click that and name it Mario Kart. And you do that by clicking it and then holding down Control and pressing R. You'll see it makes a little space for typing in there. I'm going to call it Mario Kart, because it sounds a bit like that, kind of a bit wacky. So what I want to do is maybe not just have wacky beats, we want some cool ones. So I'm going to put the tempo back to 95 where we were. And I want to try a different clip. Now this is good to know this. I'll make that go away, clicking the arrow. You don't just have clips on this line here. You can add clips all over here. So I want to add a new one, double click, and add a new one. I'll make it quite simple here. I'm just going to click. Oh, not bassy. Why is that? Because we're on C3. So delete that. Drag down. Where were we before? C1. There. And maybe I'm just going to click and drag loads of C notes like that. Maybe then press B on my keyboard. Get the arrow and make some of them a bit different. Oops. Control Z to undo. Control Z to undo. That's where we were. I want to click one of them. Change that to D sharp. Maybe click this one. Change it to G. And then keep it simple like that and see what it sounds like. Quite cool, but it's sort of like we want it more do. How do we do that? So you click Control A, that's them all selected. Grab the end of one of them, and you'll notice they're all changed size. So they should be shorter now. So that kind of sounds a little bit 80s, that one. So I'm going to click here and rename that one. Right click, rename, and just call that 80s. So we've got Mario Kart in 80s style. So this is a little clip I prepared earlier for the drum machine as well. And I'll show you how I've done that. I'm going to delete that. So we've got a clip here, Mario Kart style, a clip here, 80s. So this one here was our drum beat from earlier. And as you can see, it's pretty complicated. So here's a trick. If I click that and then go Control D, it duplicates it down. And remember, if you're on a Mac, Command D would do it. Anytime I say Control whatever, that's for Windows. If you're on a Mac, Command whatever will do the same job. So I want to make this a more simple beat. And you can see it's got a lot going on. So if I click here and drag up, selected all this because it's highlighted, hit delete, bye-bye. Even take out the clap. Now I've just got a cowbell and a kick. And I'm going to rename that. Remember, Control R, simple. And I've already called that one full. So I want to put play on this. More simple beat for the Mario Kart, for the 80s one. Maybe I can even stop these clips here by hitting that empty space. Maybe go back to the Mario Kart one. Play on this soon. Now, you'll notice how they kind of sync up when you hit them. This one. Let's get the impulse going. I can stop them by hitting the empty square button. I can stop them all by coming down here and hitting that square. Stops them all as well. So as well as making your bass, hopefully today you've learned a little bit about how to start building clips in columns, and you can jam out by clicking all different clips. That's one of the coolest things about Ableton, jamming out little loops everywhere, and you can just make loads of them, as many as you want, going down in a column like that. So remember that trick. Now one thing is you might think, oh, that bass loop's good. Let's have a listen. But it's a bit repetitive. So what you can do, like the drum clips, is double click it, go into it, hit duplicate loop, it duplicates it, duplicate it again. Now it's went to 4 bars long, and you can just change some of the notes. Like I'll maybe make that one down there, maybe change this one, click it, use the up button there. Maybe what's this guy here? I don't know, I'll make this one go up here. Maybe delete, maybe that one there, and then just hit play. You got some variation. interest into the ear when your loops are a little bit longer and got a bit of variation. Let's add in the beat. So that's good to know. Remember, variation in your beats and bass lines will keep it more interesting to the ear. Okay, cool. Now you might be thinking, Dave, that's nice drawing in the clips and that. That's pretty cool. You can get good results, but I wish I could just play it in. Like, you know, maybe you don't play keyboard, you're not a drummer, but you could. Anyone can tap something out if you had the machines to do that. Well, you do actually. Your computer keyboard. So, how to set that up? Just go to Options, click down to Computer MIDI Keyboard. Make sure that's got a tick beside it and it's on. Mine is already. So that's step one. Step two, make sure that there's no red buttons on down here at random, okay? Because you might have left on before. So I'm going to click that. That is unarmed now. And you want to arm your bass track. Go along here, hit the red button, armed. It's ready to rock. So what I can do is use my computer keyboard, press the buttons starting from A. So basically the top two lines, one line starts with Q, one line starts with A. Almost all those buttons will start playing tunes for you now. Now when you do it, you might think, oh, my computer sounds really high. It's like really like not bassy like this. You'd be like, what's going on? And that's because you can change what section of notes your computer controls. That's called an octave. So if it sounds like this, it's a really high octave. You want to bring it down to the bass. And the way you do that is using the buttons Z and X on your keyboard. So Z will bring it down. So I've hit it 3 times. It should be pretty low. Still too high. Hit Z again. That's where we were. Nice one. If it's too low, if you press Z too many times, like, sounds kind of cool, but not great. You can use X to bring it back up. Hit X 2 times, 3 times, or too high. Z, bring it back down. So you can use your ear, or you'll notice down the bottom it says computer. When you press Z or X, computer keyboard, your current octave is. Remember, we want to be around about C1 to round about there. That's good for us. So I'm going to play the beats and have a listen to them and maybe try and jam out some. I'm going to stop all of them just now. I'm going to press play on impulse and press play on this one. Get the 808 in. So that's the beat running. Help me jam along to it. May as well put the CR78 onto. Okay, I'm just going to play on the computer keyboard and see what I can do. And you'll notice how long you hold the note for in the computer keyboard can add little glides and cool expressions in it. So if you tap it fast, it's like, or if you tap it like, it almost slides like a guitarist might slide between notes, which is kind of cool. Even on your basic computer keyboard, you can do that. That's great. So how do you record it in? If you got one you like, how do you do it? So you click here, you ready, you're going to get a countdown of a beat. You click that, it'll go toot, 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 and then you'll start recording. So let's see if we can do it. Hit spacebar to stop. Let's have a listen to that. It might not sound perfect, my playing wasn't amazing. I'll double click it, go into the clip as well. Mighty track, have a look at it. Now I notice here, this note seemed like a bit of a bum note. I'm going to click it, delete.
there's something missing here, so I'm going to press B and draw in that. Still sounds a bit off, so one thing you can do is Control A, right click and quantize it, and you'll see them all move. That snaps them to the grid, which can really help your timing. If your timing is as bad as mine, do that. Boom, it should sound a little bit better and more with the beat. Bit better. So I'm going to rename that one. Control R, rename, and Dave playing. There we go. So now we've got 3 bass clips programmed in, and you can choose between them, build up as many as you want to. Now you might think, all right, okay, I've got my bass sort of all right, sounds pretty cool. I want to tweak it, I want to play around in the synthesizer. So to see that synthesizer, double click here, and it comes up like it did before, looking pretty like, whoa, intense. So we're not going to go into all the details today because that's a different lesson in itself, but there's a few controls you need to know with your synthesizers that are great. And the first one is the filter. You'll have heard it, DJs filtering, you might have heard it on your favorite bass lines. So I'm going to hit play on this. I'm going to solo my bass track by clicking the S button. It goes blue and we'll only hear the bass now. And we want to play with the filter frequency. So you can see fill 1 and it's yellow, so it's on. That's your filter section. And this frequency control is going to be your best friend. Click it and drag up and down to play around with it. Gives you a lot of control over the sound, which is always fun to mess around with. Filters have another option as well called the resonance right here. So you got frequency and your resonance. So this adds a little peak emphasis to your filters. Your filters like go woo, sweeping through all the sound, and imagine the resonance adds a little accent to that and emphasis, and it sweeps through the sound with a little emphasis. It can sound a little bit raw. Let's turn up the resonance. Turn this down, it's got a bit loud. See, it sounds a bit raw. Bring it down a bit. And that is how you can use the filter with its frequency and resonance to play around with the sound that you are creating. Now, another good thing to know is to play around with the sound that you're creating on a synth is the oscillator shape. So we're in oscillator 1 here, and you see a shape button here. It's currently set to a square wave. We might want to see what it sounds like as something else. So here's the square wave. Turn it up again. That's your square. What's a saw wave sound like? This little triangle. Not as bassy, but kind of alright. Oh, the sine wave. Really bass. Use that sine wave bass in a lot of reggae and dub. This one here, it's all random in that. It's called a noise wave. And it's noisy and used for effects, but not so much for bass. So we're going to go back to the square wave. There. So in your synth, you've got your shape section, you've got your filter section, and that's 2 of the controls that are well worth knowing at this moment in time. One last control I'll show you though is just here, in this section here. It's called your Unison. Click that button. Drag that up and down. Ooh. Much thicker sounding bass, yes. So what that's actually doing is taking your original sound, the notes you played in, but adding a little bit behind that, and it's detuned slightly and it makes it sound thick and kind of crazy. So yeah, don't forget that. So for a little synthesizer rundown, your filter section here, your shape section there, and your Unison detune there as well. And if you totally mess it up and you're like, I'm a Dave, No, I've ruined it. You can always swap it back to what it was. Just by, that's the original one there. Drag that back onto here. It replaces all the things you tweaked. And it sets it back to the way it was before. So good to know how to get back as well. So let's have a little listen to it all in action. Take it off solo, unarm it. I'm going to hit play on the Mario Kart kind of one. Bit goofy, but alright. Go to a more simple drum beat. Stop these guys. Kind of like an 80s action movie or something. Imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger's about to get into the room like, hey, where are they? Maybe. And then my terrible playing. Let's have a listen back to the funkiness. And then hit play on the 80s beat. So we're sitting about 95 BPM, which is kind of slower, a bit of a hip hop style tempo. You can see up there. Remember, if you want to make something faster, more for the club, go for about 120 to 127 BPM. And you can choose any of these sounds that we went through that you want. Go for a rawer sound. If you want more techno, go for a deeper sound. If you want more hip hop, I'll leave it up to you guys. Enjoy playing around with your bass. Don't be afraid to experiment and have fun with it. It's been a pleasure. See you in the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to this session in Ableton Live with SoundLab, the Glasgow-based charity. My name's Dave. Get in touch in the comments if you want to know more, and don't forget to check out the other videos on the channel to develop even more. Cheers everyone, catch you later.